Welcome back to the Sales Show, everyone. Simon Severino and Monica Bozinov here. Today, this is for CEOs. So if you're not a CEO, do something better. But if you are a CEO, this is for you, because we have been collecting all your questions over the past weeks in the Sprint Club. And you have so many questions around decision making, around not burning out, around living your passion, but living it long enough that you can stay in the game, being in flow, not being overwhelmed, or if you are overwhelmed, how can you calm yourself down and stay in the game long enough that you actually win the game that you want to win. So Monica and I, we're doing these CEO trainings now once a week, and welcome to the first one where we explore the topics of taking fast decisions, taking risks, but the good way, in a way that nurtures you and you can do it for a very long time and having a ton of fun and an amazing life rather than being tired, overwhelmed, and burning out. So I give it to Monica.
Yes. So you see this all the time, Simon. High risk, high stake. Decisions need to be made now. We don't have time to wait for the next week. We need to make a decision now, and everyone is looking to the CEO. What do you see happening over and over again?
They look to the CEO, and a good CEO has models in their head. And so how do you stay calm? You only can stay calm if you have models. So one model is what's the whole thing and what are the parts. So you're a parent and your kids say, I need to buy this. And everybody looks at the one parent that usually takes the economical decision. Are we buying this? And then the parents look at each other. Are we buying this? Who answers? And so ideally you have a model of what's the whole family, what are the values of the family, and how does this little part fit into the whole thing. So if it's a weapon and you are a pacifistic family, you would say, no, we don't buy weapons. And so that's a model. And so a CEO has a model of what's the company, who are we, what do we stand for, who are we here to serve, and how are we going to win this? If you have that model, you can stay calm, because now you think you have 3 seconds to run through that model. And while you do that, you relax, right? Because, you're being asked all the time from all kind of people, all kind of decisions. So if you have a model, maybe we talk about models and we talk about processes in this episode. Because what is it that relaxes you and gives you that breathing room, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, to actually formulate an answer? And even better, you don't have to have all the answers. You can rely on that process and now open it up and ask smart questions around that. That again calms it down and invites more intelligence, because your intelligence is always very limited. Even if you are the longest in the company, but it's still limited. There is more information in everybody else. And usually you're hiring smart people, otherwise you wouldn't be hiring them. So you want to also have their intelligence enrich the question before you decide. But let's say you're a 3-people team. Some people listening are just one person and an assistant. So the question is much more immediate. Should we do this or that? Now it comes to your risk profile. What I'm seeing, maybe we share this slide. I'm seeing 4 kind of people in deciding. I see people who are willing to take a ton of risk, and they are naive and they say quickly yes. There are people who are willing to take a lot of risk the right way. Let's call them, they're capitalizing on their risk willingness and risk capabilities. And then there is people who don't take enough risk because they just stay safe. Let's call them rigid. They have a low willingness to risk anything. So their normal answer is just no, or let's wait, or let me think about it. And then there is defensive. I could, but I decide not to risk right now.
Mhm.
So if we look at rigid, defensive, naive, and capitalizing, obviously you want to be mostly in capitalizing, sometimes in defensive, and you want to have this optionality. If you think of the people around you, where are they in those four quadrants? And how do they react to each other? I was recently talking to Tom Sosnoff. He's a very red person, so capitalizing. And he said, I hate it when somebody tells me, let me think about it. I hate it
Mhm.
because nobody has to think about anything. In reality, your body is telling you the answer. And so he says, we always have a model and we have a resonance body, which is our actual body
Mhm.
is resonating to that answer, to that model.
Yes.
It runs all the time.
Yes. And that's where, right, we all know we have different brains, right? There is really no average brain. Every brain is unique. So is the nervous system that sits in the body. So we have different nervous systems, and some people are more risk prone and some people are less risk prone, right? Some people are define themselves as risk takers, and some people avoid risk. But when you get to the high stakes situations, there's always a risk. There's always an actual risk. And you mentioned Tom Sosnoff, him being like, he says something about taking the decision, making the decision in the moment, right? By being present and doing like he does one thing and one thing only. And he doesn't care about anything else. Most CEOs have an actual life, have many types of decisions to make. Maybe they are involved in several departments. There's development, there's new tech, there's a shift in the market. There's a lot of things. There are a lot of plates, right? So now they have to make a decision in the moment. And there are people, Simon, there are people with their own agenda in the C-suite room. And they may be pushing their own thing. So now you have to listen to your body. It's an instrument. You need to listen to the resonance, because the brain is blind, it is deaf. The only information it has to operate from is the resonance in your body. That's how it gets its information. If that data is corrupted, now you're making bad decisions. You need clean, uncorrupted data coming into your brain for the cognitive brain to make decisions. And here's some of the like numbers. Bruce Lipton talks about how the cognitive brain can deal with 40 bits of data in a second. The full central nervous system can deal with 40 million bits of data in a second. That's why you need that resonance. That's how you can make quick decisions. But the data needs to be not corrupted. And that's what can happen, right? You have the actual financial, the numbers, the actual risk of decision making. And then you have perceived risk. So now if you do not feel safe in the moment, if this situation reminds you of something, right? if there's a power struggle in the C-suite room and you are feeling like you're under attack. I remember, growing up, I remember the whole watching movies and hearing it's a doggy dog world. And I was like, oh yeah, that sounds fun. Dogs playing. That's not it. There's real danger. Someone is looking to fill your place. There's competition in the market looking to take your clients. All of these things, you need to be compliant. There are regulations you need to not uh, not go against. There's risk taking all the time that is happening next to the decision you're actually making. And that's when you can go wrong.
I like that you
You've
say
seen this.
perceived risk versus
Yes.
actual risk. Maybe the people listening, they became CEOs because they are better at staying with the actual risk. And when everybody panics because of the perceived risk, they stay actually cool and rational, or they can stay moving, they can move forward, they can take a decision that is one step forward instead of being paralyzed. Because under stress, many people freeze,
Hmm.
and then they look to somebody, and that somebody that gets looked at, those people usually become the CEOs.
Yeah. And you have these 4 stress reactions, right? You have fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And so the fawn is one that we often miss because in most situations, it's very acceptable to do what everyone else is doing. And that's the fawn response. Look at everyone else, right? But if you're the CEO, to use another cliche, you need to zig when everyone is zagging. You can't afford the fawn. You cannot afford the freeze. The fight will cost you a lot.
You have to pick your fights. Can't just fight all the time.
You can't, right? So you need to stay focused. And as you said, some of these CEOs that stay cool might be also natural risk takers. So they kind of feed on risk. They
Yeah.
like the high stake, right? But you need to be able to understand, is this just a kick that I get because it's a risk?
So let's talk about two kind of people. Let's simplify it and start with, how can we help the people who don't take enough risk and
Hmm.
who take more risk? And then later on, let's look at the people who are taking a ton of risk and maybe it's too much and we have to protect them,
Hmm.
or they have to protect themselves. Um, but the first part, we all know people where you go, dude, you have so much more life in you. Come on, go bigger. Like you recently, in the 200K club, you recently asked everybody for their financial goals, and
Hmm.
then they wrote them down, and then you said, okay, now 10x them.
Hmm.
Like you were seeing much bigger things for them, and you intentionally brought them to that edge and had their nervous system spike and then showed them how to center again.
Yes, that's like intentionally. I know most coaches, mentors, leaders out there, they hate setting massive goals. Most people advise against it because they know what will happen, right? So everyone is like pushing the incremental improvement, take one tiny step at a time, because they know when you set big goals, the nervous system kicks in and you get self-sabotage, and people go into freeze and they want to avoid that. I see it very differently. When you 10x your goal and you sit with it and you start listening to the resonance in your body, that is the most beautiful thing ever, because your body will bring up to awareness any fear that's in the system, right? So I use it on purpose because we can now detect what's really going on in the system. And most people don't want to do that because they don't have the tools to fix it. I do, right? So we can fix it, and we can fix it quickly. So it's a part of the mapping structure. When you know what the issue is, you can fix it. So if you tend to avoid risk, well, let's bring up the risk emotionally in the moment in your nervous system so that we can put words to what the fear really is about. And here's what I see over and over and over again when people sit with the massively increased risk and start listening. It isn't about that decision that has to be made now. The fear is about, oh, this feels like something that happened once back then, right? And it can be like in the C-suite room, there is backstabbing. It can be, wow, the last time I made a big risk and it went wrong, I got attacked. Don't want that to happen to me again. It can also be like way before that. It can be something really early on in the developmental years. You're a dad, Simon. The first few years of your life is just a full body experience, right? And that nervous system is just constantly scanning, am I safe? So if you had early on in life, like a mom that was a single parent, a dysfunctional family, something happened in the country you grew up in that was very disturbing to the community, that sense of danger can be hardwired into your nervous system. And now everything that feels like danger feels like that. And they're not connected. They're not actually connected in real life. But your nervous system perceives it as that thing that happened back then. And that's where we can really, when we bring this up to awareness, we can see what's really going on, and we can change the hardwiring in the nervous system. Because your nervous system is your biggest asset. It's where all of the information is being processed all the time. You want clean, uncorrupted data going to your brain.
We are still thinking about the person who needs more stress, more risk. And I'm thinking, should they set bigger goals? Should they, whatever they're doing, thinking about what's bigger? So maybe when they do their quarterly planning, yearly planning, putting in one big project rather than many normal ones. Like for me this year, the big thing was writing a book. And so it made me so nervous. It stressed me out so much. It was a stretch goal. And it's almost done now, and it happened. But I realized that it's exciting, and also maybe too much. So in the second part, we can look at the too much excitement part. But in the first, it got me out of my slump of just optimizing things, of just doing what's in front of me. It kind of lifted my horizon a little bit, broadened my horizon, because when you operate, you just do what's in front of you. But that thing lifted me up and said, okay, what's the topic? Why? Which partnerships do you want to open up? And so automatically I was thinking about across continents. And literally, the person I wrote it with is in Los Angeles. I'm in Europe. And the first time we were talking about the book was in Japan in front of 4,000 people and the chat was in Japanese. So that was, I had no idea what's going on there. That was pretty stressful and pretty different from sitting in Vienna at my desk and just answering questions from the Sprint Club, which is my normal comfort zone.
But also, you are both people that think differently. You understand the value of setting big goals, of not following like the traditional operational system. Because like when I read the book, when I read the book, I think I read it like 1.7 times
Hmm.
before the deadline you needed. uh, I was like, yay, this is so good. This is so good because you're looking to optimize effort and time. And the theme that comes, and this is another thing, right? This is now we're moving into the whole conditioning. Because what you show in the book is the value of thinking outside of the box, of not doing things the traditional way, which both of you do brilliantly. But the theme that was going through the book was one CEO after the other. I'm exhausted, right? I don't have a life. And that's another part of the conditioning. We're so hardwired through the educational system that you have to work hard to get results. And I hear these stories over and over and over again. Brilliant people, the people that have everything they need in their nervous system and in their brain to become those exponential leaders, the CEOs that does things differently. And they excel in school. They get good grades, but then they get caught doing like their homework really fast. They deliver this assignment too quickly. And now it's like, yes, it's an excellent assignment, but you did not spend enough time doing it. And now they get graded like lower. They get punished for being quick. They get punished for doing something that was easy. Because the whole structure of the educational system is first grade. And now second grade is harder. And third grade is harder. And just wait until you get to high school. And now just wait until you go to higher education. It's going to be harder. And there's a value to teaching our children to work hard, to have really good work ethics. But if you're the CEO and you continue to follow that system, if it's not hard, it's not worth it. You're going to put your effort into the wrong things. You're going to spend time doing things that are hard. That takes a lot of time, that takes a lot of focus, instead of doing the things that you're really good at and that's easy for you.
And by the
And I
way,
see that, yeah.
yes, I started now rowing with my kids, and so over the weekend, it's a very competitive thing. You want to win the race, you want to win the Olympics, but you know what's funny? And so you're 8 people in a boat, and we don't train hard. Actually, most of the time, training is trying to relax the arms,
Mhm.
relax the back, and have the legs do most of it. So it's actually about relaxing and becoming smooth and
Yes.
efficient. If one in a boat of 8 people, if sometimes I push a lot, and then they say, Simon, relax, because if you push 40% more, the boat doesn't get faster. But if we all relax the arms, and if we all push just 5% more our legs, now the boat gets 10% faster. And so it's the opposite. It's not pushing that makes the boat faster. It's actually relaxing and aligning, synchronizing.
Yes.
So
And that's where you get the most out of the effort that you put into it, right? It's different than what we are taught in the educational system. So it's way more similar to sports, right? If you see someone who has a runner's body, you don't go, you know what? You should really try sumo wrestling. You don't, right? But the CEOs that I see, the the burden they put on themselves. I have to do this and that and that and that. And they're doing things they should delegate because they don't have the nervous system, the energy body, and the brain that is wired for those assignments. And they spend too much time doing stuff they should delegate. Right? Steve Jobs is one of those classical examples of that, right? He was the fonts guy and he could see into the future. He could see what people, oh, this is something people will love. That didn't even exist. He wasn't the guy actually creating the thing. He hired people that were better than him in all of these departments. He was the guy that could see the vision, that could hold the vision, and then he could delegate. And that's where we need to be.
In our quadrants, he was totally capitalizing
Mm-hmm.
by doing his work mostly alone in kind of a meditative state, a thinking state. He was canceling a ton of noise, looking at a few signals, taking a few but big decisions, and then pushing the whole organization through it and saying that's the direction, guys. So he was totally capitalizing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we finish up thinking about, okay, the person who doesn't take enough risk, take more risks, think bigger, one big project, Steve Jobs style, rather than many small ones. I find myself probably every second year or third year like just stuck in optimizing what I'm doing, just doing what's in front of me. And that's usually when I get less energized, I get a little bit boring, I look tired, I look pale, and then I'm gradually realize, oh, that's the stage again where I need to set bigger goals.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of fading out here. I'm becoming a rug. What's happening here? And a carpet, right? And then how I pull myself out, bigger goals. I go to my focus card. I check for, and we discuss what's one big thing that we should be doing. And that usually takes us out of that rut.
Mm-hmm.
Another exercise is also looking at finances, looking at how am I dealing with, the big responsibilities in my life. And when you're a business owner, you have financial responsibilities. So the finances of the company and what's important there, and your personal financials, and how do you plan to compound them? And so what I do is I look at myself at 65 because I'm 45 right now. So at 65, traditionally you would retire, right? I don't plan to retire, but I have this line in the sand. There is a milestone there, and it's 2045 when I'm 65, and I'm looking at that thing, and I'm looking at how are my resources working for me, how is my money working for me, and then I see the percentage compound right now, and I see it in 2045. But the point is to see it in one place, because now the future is here.
Mm-hmm.
And so that double checks, are you using your resources? Are you compounding at the right pace? And sometimes I don't even know what's compounding what. So I have to go to the single part, what's each portfolio doing? And then I have the percentage, and then I look at that. And that is a reality check. But also sometimes it says, hey, it's a kick in the ass sometimes. hey, if you compounded 8%, this is your 2045. That's not gonna cut it with 3 kids. And so it's a useful exercise. And then I need to read the next books, watch the next Sosnov video, improve my processes.
But how many of your clients, when they come to you, how many of the CEOs that you're working with have a 20-year perspective?
It's getting shorter and shorter. I'm shocked.
Mm-hmm.
And now maybe we go to the other side, the always excited, always urgent, always I need the success right now kind of people.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm getting more and more, 10 years ago, I had more clients like family offices, etc., who think in generations, especially my European clients, because I was more working with Europe. And companies like Novartis, like Roche, they are 100-year companies. They are multi-generational companies. They think in multi-generations. They own the island where the building is in which we are sitting and working. So you see how long they think, right?
Mm-hmm.
But over the last 10 years, I'm working more with California, so the US, but specifically California. And the nervous system is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
They go from spike to spike. So right now, AI, everything needs to be blockchain. And last year it was blockchain. Blockchain. I need to create the Hollywood of blockchain. It needs to work now. I raised $2 million. We have to make this work. So what they do is instead of having long 10 years or 20 years out and gradually weekly working towards that in increments, they spike to one thing that's right now here. They're usually kind of successful in that,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't compound. And so it's always exciting burnout, exciting burnout. So they jumped into blockchain, they made some results, but they lost all of those results. And that was my big learning. You need two systems. You need a compounding system, and you need an opportunistic, probabilistic system where you jump onto opportunities. With this one, you can make 800% in a month, but if you don't have something where you put them, where you park them to compound over 20 years, you will go from spike to spike to spike and never build anything long lasting. And when you talk to them, they're always on the brink of either total success or total ruin. And it feels the same. It feels just too stressful.
Yeah. And here's the thing, we get energy from negative pleasures, right? Like that downturn, it can also be exhilarating. So you can become that risk junkie if you constantly feed your system with those spikes of excitement and adrenaline and then fear. It can energize you, right? But it's not sustainable in the long run. And I'm looking at some numbers here, right? Saying a significant majority of leaders report exhaustion. One survey found that 82% of business leaders reported exhaustion indicative of burnout. 82%. That's not sustainable. And that's where there are two parts to this. It's the nervous system. We need to understand our nervous system and how it can feed on that frenzy because it feels familiar. So we need to change the hardwiring of the nervous system, and then we need the long-term thinking. And if we've never done that, we need someone to hold our hand doing that, right? If we don't know how to regulate our nervous system, we need someone holding our hands doing that. This is not a thing you can do all alone, all by yourself, right? You need You need a shadow cabinet. You need a chair guy. And this is what you and I see from different perspectives, right? You can't, because when you're in it, it feels so real. This is the moment. I need to deal with it now. Well, actually, you don't,
Yeah,
right?
I'm always surprised. Oh no, it's October, Simon. We have this. We have now. We have to reconcile the books. And I said, didn't you know already in January that there would be an October at some point? Are you really surprised every October that October is happening? Like, we know these cycles. We know this thing. I think, right? It's, well, we know that October is coming. We know, but people don't plan around that. They don't. It's So we're now with the second part of the people who are always in this high excitement, high risk situation. And that was really my big learning this year, that everybody needs a compounding system and an exciting system. Um, so, for example, if you look at investing, because one important skill of CEOs is capital allocation. If you are good at capital allocation, that's already um, a big part of your responsibility. And a compounding system means really selecting the highest quality stocks and holding them forever, Warren Buffett style. But most people cannot live the life of Warren Buffett. Old house, never refurbished. He just reads the paper the whole day, eats like a 6 years old, uh, and in the evening he plays bridge alone on his computer. Once a week he had a date with his wife. That was his week. So for most people that's too boring to do for 40 years. That it then compounds to many billions, they don't see it, because they don't look at, oh, what happens if I live a Warren Buffett life for 30 years. And so, but that's the compounding portfolio. You need one part of your life. Let's take the money side of your life. This is how you have to manage your money. You either automatically send it to your investing account, or you take boring few decisions per year. You buy Visa, you buy Lindy, you buy Ferrari, you buy companies that stand the test of time, Amazon, things where you know they will be around in 20 years and they will be strong in 20 years, stronger. And they do the work for you. You just relax. So some people are good at that, but really rare.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to monitor, because times are changing. Ferrari can change, and so you have to monitor and listen to the earnings of Ferrari and talk to Maranello from time to time if they're still taking the right decisions, or having somebody that talks to them. And so that's monitoring and compounding. On the other side, that doesn't create any cash flow right now. So you need to create cash flow also right now. The income portfolio was my big learning of this year. That's where you can spike up and down, sell Nvidia, 3 days later you buy it back. Fantastic. You can do all of that. Super exciting thing. It made 50%, but where do we put those 50% profits? We put them back into the boring compounding system. Right now people are calling me, Simon, yeah, now I'm buying Bitcoin. I said, now it's too late. That's not the moment to buy. Now it's over. So you have to get in when everybody's bearish, when everybody's panicking. You have to get out when your mom is entering. So right now your mom is entering. So it's not the right moment. You have to get in and get out from these kind of things. That's nothing that compounds. And you take those profits and you put them into your compounding system. So it's regulation of your nervous system. This is where rarely anything happens. And this is where you have to be quick and fearless. Also, position sizing. In this one, the position must be minimum 15%, otherwise it doesn't change anything. If you hold 2% Nvidia, that doesn't do anything to your life. If you select Nvidia, which I wouldn't, for your compounding portfolio, you have to go 10, 12%, 15%. Go in with big conviction. Otherwise, it doesn't
But
move.
that, I mean, I remember the conversation you and Tom Sosnoff had on this, about, he said you have to live that, right? You have to make the investments yourself because otherwise you don't get real life experience. So now we're talking the CEO that has been able to delegate a lot of the other stuff because you don't have the time, the capacity, or the presence to be in the real life learning of that until you have delegated so much of the other day-to-day stuff that you can be present in that, right? I see like all of the stuff that you post. I don't understand like 5% of it because it's not the world that I am in, but like the level of knowledge that you have accumulated on that stuff, that means you have to allocate cognitive resources to read up on and to know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you cannot manage both the long time investment and the day-to-day trading and
Yes.
the right. So that you have come so far, Simon. You have the capacity to do that. Most of the CEOs you're working with are not in that brain space yet because they are living the day-to-day, taking care of everything. They haven't done the delegation part. They haven't. Right. Here's another thing. Focus on purpose.
It's a
That's
very
another thing.
important thing. What is your job as a CEO and what is not your
Mhm.
job?
Yes.
Um, let's talk about that. What
Mhm.
are the key functions of a CEO that you shouldn't delegate? Because nowadays you can delegate kind of everything.
Mhm.
And I see most of people say, no, marketing, no, that's delegated. Sales, no, that's delegated. Capital allocation, no, our financial advisors run that. And I go like, what the heck are you doing? Oh, I sit in meetings. That's the most important job.
Yes.
That's the thing you should cut.
Yeah.
So let's be provocative, right? What is it that a CEO really needs to know? And it's changing for me decade after decade. It's changing for me. So I think one thing is capital allocation. Nobody else can take, is allowed to take, is legally allowed to take all those capital allocation. You are legally responsible for the economic results and progress of your company. You are legally responsible for the cash flows. You are legally responsible for all the three financial statements
Mhm.
and for what's in there. That's not your accounting team that's responsible for that. They just
Do
type
the
it.
thing.
They
Yeah.
just type it. They admin it and they prepare it for you, but you are responsible for what happens there. And so that's over time. I told myself, Simon, you have to be more like Warren Buffett, less like I don't know, being on stage and doing the seminar. You have to have at least carve out 1 day per week where you sit and think and read.
And I
Warren
can
Buffett like.
already, like, Simon, I can hear, like, I can feel the energy of everyone watching this. The CEO watching this now going, one a day, carving out one day, that does not
1 day a
exist for
week.
me.
That's how I started, right? I
Yeah.
said Fridays. And then a year later, I said, oh, this is cool. Fridays and Mondays. So
Mhm.
Fridays and Mondays was my nobody can book me time. It's my thinking time. I just sit and write, sit and read. That
Mhm.
alone made such a difference that I was sitting and writing
Mhm.
because when you write, your nervous system calms down, clarity comes in, you see noise and signal clearer.
Yeah. And
And
like I'm so old, right? I do like the actual holding a pen
yeah,
and writing on
yeah,
like the resistance on the paper. It takes time. It slows you down,
yeah,
right? And it calms the nervous system. It brings clarity.
yeah.
But what do you see working with people, making them carve out that time? What are the first things you see need to go?
Well, first, you have to prioritize, you have to decide what are your most important tasks. And so, if you ask me, as a CEO, you need to be really good at capital allocation, at buyer psychology, and at sales. Those are the three things that you need to be fantastic at. And 10 years ago, I would say also hiring and firing. But that's not
Mhm.
that preeminent anymore because software can do stuff. You have 16 agents doing stuff with you. I don't think hiring and firing is the big topic anymore moving forward. I was listening for 1 hour. So on my way to Pilates class, I was listening for 1 hour to an interview about marketing,
Mhm.
and it was full of buyer psychology insights. So I think buyer psychology is top top three things that
Mhm.
you have to be. And the reason is, if you don't understand buyer psychology, you will automate the wrong things. You will cut costs in the wrong places. You will allocate capital in the wrong places. You will say, let's cut these costs because they're visible, but you don't know other things that are more important, just not that easily visible. So, if you don't understand biopsychology, you orient the whole company, the products, the services, the people around the wrong priorities. So, number one, buyer psychology. Learn that. Why do people buy? How do they buy? What matters to them? What makes the difference? What makes them prone to pay more? What makes them want to pay less? Those are the most important things to understand. From there, you have to understand business models. Okay, how do I now design the business model, the offers, the pricing in the right way? And that's why now sales is so important, because in sales, that's when you actually do it. You craft the attention part. When they see you, what do they see? And then the engagement part, how do you engage them? And then the buying, the actual buying, how do they close? How do they sign? Is it a Panda doc? Is it a Shopify form? What is it? How do they actually buy in the closing, in the call? And then how do you deliver, and how do you retain and refer? So how do you make them so happy that they bring other people in?
Mhm.
That's sales knowledge. How to design a sales process, the whole buyer journey from attention to referrals.
Mhm.
I
But
th-
what are the things you see them spending too much time on? What are they doing that they should not be doing?
Everything else, they sit in meetings, they read reports, they buy courses. Who the heck
Hmm.
needs a course?
Yeah.
Uh, they spend time on social media
Hmm.
without this very specific intent of learning more about these three things.
Hmm.
Um, they burn money for marketing. When you understand marketing, you stop paying for it. I
Okay,
didn't
can you
pay a
say that
single
one?
dime in
Repeat,
marketing.
repeat that. When?
When you
Repeat that.
understand marketing, you stop paying for it.
There are so many brains going zzz right now.
Yeah. You know what my marketing spend is in 2025? $0. I mean, it's not really $0. Maybe it's 700 in software because
Hmm.
some software helps us in some way with,
Hmm.
probably, right?
Hmm.
Uh, but it's for marketing $0.
Okay, so skip paying for marketing.
When you understand marketing, you stop paying for it
Hmm.
because you start first you start understanding that every behavior, everything you do today, you say today is marketing. And so, and the second thing is you start getting paid for your marketing. In January, I started a new newsletter, a blog. And when it had 60 subscribers, which most people would say, oh, it's a failure, right? Stop it. I said, no, this is getting started. And I turned monetization on. I said, let's see. And so it's a blog about investing. And I research companies. I think about the defendability, the longevity of one company. I compare them against their competitors. I say, is this essential or non-essential? Who do they serve? Who are their clients? Why do these people buy it? Do they need to buy it? Will they buy it for 20 years or not? And then what's the valuation? Should you invest right now? So that's one article. And it's business analysis. It's business strategy, business analysis, valuation. And I thought maybe this is something that people want to pay for. Let's find out. And so I made it, okay, $600 annual membership, and you get deeper dives, more deep dives, my own portfolio moves. Turns out there are funds in North America that pay for this. They immediately paid. And I look them up and I see their portfolios. So I'm basically doing the work for them. And then they take their decisions basing on that research. So they just bought a piece of research. It's like I'm being an employee or a freelancer that works for them, does some of the work for them.
Mm-hmm.
So you need just 60 subscribers. What's the lesson here? First of all, don't pay for ads or for something that you don't really are great at or control. The second part is whatever you do is marketing and somebody needs it. Find where that pond is, where those fishes are, and offer it to them. And even if it's just 60 fishes, they will pay for it if it's the right thing for them that they need right now. So even a tiny blog on investing can be valuable for large investment funds in a different continent that need exactly that right now.
And this is something you enjoy doing. It's within, like, it's very much your zone of interest.
I
Which
love
is
it
why,
because
yes.
it's and back to before. Why do I love it so much? Because hey, I'm the CEO of Strategy Sprints. That's not a financial advisory. We are a management consulting firm, right? So we help CEOs. And so why would I spend so much time thinking about financials? Well, turns out the language of companies is the language of accounting.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you understand that, you understand your first job capital allocation so much better. Second, when you analyze businesses, you analyze who the buyer is, why do they buy, what else can they do. Those are all business strategy questions that you as a CEO have to become very good at, very, very good at. And the third part, valuation, well, that's basically accounting, understanding cash flows, understanding, again, perceived risk versus real risk. So when right now Netflix is down 30% because of perceived risk of a possible acquisition that can go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If you have done the work of really understanding valuations, now you go through the cash flow statements and understanding their competitive dynamics. And maybe you say, oh, everybody is seeing minus 30%. I am seeing something else. I will invest. Which is not what I'm doing because I don't think Netflix has enough defendable moats over 20 years. It's too competitive. That field is too competitive. But you see where I'm going. Everybody has one perception, but you have created a process for yourself, a model where you can think clearly independently of what the world does.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the actual practice.
Yeah. But to do that, you need to shed off all of the things that you think you are supposed to do and focus on what's really important.
Yeah. And that's the work, right? What is important?
Mm-hmm.
Asking this, what is the highest leverage task that I can do right now?
Mm-hmm.
It's constant work. I don't know it. I sound so smart and I talk to you as if I knew anything. I know nothing. I have a process to find out what is
Mm-hmm.
the most important thing. So I come here to my desk and I go through these kind of things. It's a process of reviewing, finding out, learning from others, learning from people who started earlier, like Warren Buffett and Tom Sosnoff, who have 50 years of this on their shoulders, trying to accelerate my own path, learning from each other. In the Sprint Club, it's 250 of us, and we're learning from each other, right? I'm learning from you. We're learning from each other.
Yeah, and also I love in your book, right? One of the things was go back, take a look at your calendar, and make everyone all of the like reoccurring meetings. Make everyone justify why that meeting needs to happen. That can save you a lot of time so that you can carve out time for that sitting with your own knowledge and listening to your own resonance and to your own thinking and making decisions that are not the same decisions you made last year or the last decade.
No prototype, no meeting. We don't come together to brainstorm. We come together to build on what you already have crafted. So Jeff Bezos would say, don't come to this meeting. Before you come to this meeting, a day before, you send in a 2 pages written document about what you think about the current situation, what your proposal is that we do, and the actual prototype of the solution, a draft.
Mhm.
You send it in. Everybody reads the 2 pages of everybody else. When the meeting starts, we are already on the same page. Now we discuss and decide. I think that's a great meeting.
Yeah, yeah. And that's how you have to take something away to create a space for the invention and the new thinking and the allocation of capital, all of that to change, to shift, to create forward momentum. Because if you do what you've always been doing, you will get what you've always gotten. Too little time, right? So something needs to shift, and this time of year is the perfect time to do that. Sit back and question and take help, someone who doesn't have an agenda in your company, right? It's strategy sprints is a place where you can do that. This is what I love it when people go, I hear this so often when I'm working with clients, they go, have you seen my calendar? Like, that's not an argument. That calendar is of your own making.
Back to our 4 quadrants.
Mm-hmm.
This when they say, "Have you seen my calendar?" They are on high risk all the time. I would say
Mm-hmm.
naive, too much risk taking all the
Mm-hmm.
time without prioritizing. So they say yes to every project, yes to every client, yes to every meeting, and then they're completely plastered with meetings. I have a
Yeah.
few partners right now. When I want to talk to them and say, yes, Sunday afternoon, I say, Sunday afternoon? That's where I'm in the rowing club Sunday afternoon. I'm a dad Sunday afternoon. I don't work Sunday afternoon. Um, and I don't have that stress. I always have few open blocks in my calendar, but they're so plastered with stuff because everything is urgent. And so they need a little bit more Warren Buffett in their life, right? A little bit more boring. Just sit, think, and plan. I'm not a big planner, but I would say think through things, right? Pick one big question, for example, how can I wow my customers? What can we do in the first 3 hours that our customers work with us, that's a wow.
Mhm.
Sit down with this question or walk in nature with this question for an hour. That's a better use of your time than most other things that you will do in that week. And if after that hour, now you go and meet your team, now you go and meet partners, I think you have better conversations.
Mhm. Yeah. And saying no, right? I heard Corey from Blue Talks saying he researched what made like the most successful people. They said no, I think it was 50 to 20 to 50 times more often than anyone else. That's how you make room in your calendar. You have to say no.
I met Peter Drucker's daughter, and she showed me a card of Peter Drucker, the management philosopher, management author, uh, and he had a card printed, which was a polite no to an invitation to talk. So he was, hey, Mr. Drucker, would you come to our event and talk about management? And so he printed a polite no, which was 3 sentences of super polite. Thank you for asking me. I'm honored. Da-da-da. And the very reason you're asking me is because I'm thinking about management. And you know what? That's how I will use my time. I will think about management instead of coming to events. That's my priority right now.
Yeah.
Thinking about what management is, which is why you're asking me in the first place. And so it was a super nice, polite card which would say no. And he printed like 100 of them, and his daughter and they were giving them up to every request. I love that. I have also a template email to say no for a few things that I'm asked frequently. And the more polite you can make it, the better. Be kind, but say no so much more.
Yeah. And saying no, also this nervous system reaction, right? We want to be liked, we want to be seen, we want to be popular, right? That's a very basic human need. But
Yeah,
if you chase the fame and the popularity of the wrong people,
no, no, no. In your role as a CEO, there is no place for being liked or being loved. It's like when you're a parent, like my kids right now, they are negotiating with me. They want YouTube. They want access to YouTube. And I said, no, but you are on YouTube yourself. Yes. That's
yes,
not fair. Yes. I hate you. Okay. Go ahead. You can hate me. I still love you. You can hate me. So that's not the job, right? They can hate me and it's fine. Um, in that role, I I don't need to be loved. In other roles, in my friendship, in my marriage, I want to be
Mhm,
loved. I want to be
mhm,
liked
mhm,
a lot. I need it like oxygen,
mhm.
but not in the role as a parent, not in the role as a CEO. There, the question is what's the right thing for the whole thing and for the elements, right? And how do we decide based on that?
Yeah. So the decision making needs to happen in a place where you can make a cognitive decision about what's right and what's wrong. Is it a yes? Is it a no? Do I spend my time here or do I not spend my time here? And if you cannot be present with your cognitive brain, if you're in a place where the nervous system hijacks your cognitive brain, you need to back out. Create the space to make the right decision. And if you find yourself in that place making the wrong decisions over and over again, or in high stakes situations, one bad decision isn't just disaster for you, it's disaster for potentially for the entire company, right? So that is where this is not a popularity contest. This is not a contest of who can have the most meetings in their calendar. This is not a contest who can take the biggest risk. It needs to be cognitive thinking. So all of these 4 different risk types, all of them need to be have access to their brain while making decisions. That means we need the right information and we need to be anchored in a not stressful state. If you're in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, you will make the wrong decision. So it's a combination of the right skill sets and the right state. And that's when you can make the right decision.
I love this. And guys, we're gonna do this every week now, Monica and I, because we are here for you, the CEOs, and we are some ourselves, and so we're learning with you, and for you, and we want to really help you make the best of your journey as a CEO. Be fast, be forceful, but be in your full energy instead of being tired and being time poor. We want you to be time rich, fast, and forceful. That's the name of this. I wrote something in the Sprint Club about these two systems. So maybe if people don't know what the Sprint Club is, let me show them what it is. And I wrote a little piece about having two systems, because otherwise you are winning in one, but you're never actually compounding it over time. And then you're always rushed and you're always in this state of, I have to win right now. So this is the Sprint Club. In case you don't know what it is our app and our community where we discuss sales, marketing, investing, trading, referrals, strategy, business partnerships, 24/7 as a community. We are 244 sprinters in there. You can join for free, try it out for 7 days. It's at strategysprints.com. Monica is there, I'm there. And guys, where can people work with you, Monica?
They can, when they go into Strategy Sprints, they can send me a message. You can DM me on LinkedIn. I will respond if you have a question. We are accessible.
Perfect. So thank you, everyone. This is Fast and Forceful. See you next week. Thank you, Monica. This was cool.
This was fun.